I'm in place, Wynn reported after parking through his radio mic. Trouble starts, I'll be there in 5 minutes, tops. The Savemore lot baked in the late summer sun. The air so hot it wobbled over the pavement like a bad special effect. A rickety fan buzzed behind the store, outmatched and complaining loudly about it. Inside, the cruiser felt like it was marinating him in low-grade summer heat. The dash vents groaned out a whisper of cool air, just enough to mock the idea of comfort. "Noted," she replied, her voice carried via the covert communications they set up. Her gear looked innocent enough, a small bone conduction earbud hidden under her wig, and a forgettable black headband to tie the disguise together. The headband carried the real machinery. A tech weave track with a curved antenna and a thin battery riding the inside edge. The bud cut her voice. The band refined it and relayed it to him, and his voice returned as a soft vibration along her jawline. From afar, she blended right in. Through the comms, she was practically in his passenger seat. "Now settle in," she added. "I won't need rescuing today." Wynn's gaze dropped to the dash, tracing each needle like it mattered. The predictable logic of machinery steadied him more than her words did. What's the angle she's hiding? He wondered for the millionth time. Based on the crumbs she'd dropped, the most logical guess was that she planned to interrogate him. Use the friendly interview act to box him in and push him toward admitting something. And if not that, then maybe she meant to shake him down. The old man had an ego bigger than half of Hymialis, and the whole treasure hunt after getting cancer-screamed immortality project. Maybe she was planning to hit him where it hurt, threaten his whole reputation. It explained whatever she'd been stirring up on social media the last few days. The groundwork she refused to elaborate on. Wynn pulled in a full breath and sighed it out through his mouth, the sound barely above a whisper. There's no use trying to predict her. The only sane move was staying ready. So Wynn listened, waiting for the faintest sign of something going wrong when she reached Eisner's door. A guard stiffening, a pause, a request to wait. Anything. Instead, she slid past every checkpoint like water slipping through fingers. "Here are my credentials. Yes, I'm aware of his health condition. Of course, I'll follow the rules." Every line landed like she'd rehearsed it. Within seconds, the guard told her to head inside. The audio shifted as soon as she entered. Softer echo, cleaner heel strike. Then a second guard stepped in, voice firm, controlled. "Bag on the table?" The bag touched down, a hush of fabric, and Wynn caught the thin metallic zzz, zzz of zippers and the soft skf of things shifting. "My recorder's off," she said. "You're welcome to verify." The wand gave off a quiet while it passed along her frame. Then the guard offered a flat, practiced clear. Wynn listened for any flicker of trouble, but everything stayed painfully routine. Cassidy met the guard's small talk with polite non-answers, just warm enough to soothe, just vague enough to discourage curiosity. Her voice was steady, measured, the exact register she used when the plan was unfolding, exactly as she intended. After a brief walk, the escort halted and rapped on a heavy door. "Mr. Eisner, your appointment is here." A tired voice came from inside. "Bring her in." The door creaked open. Cassidy entered, and Wynn caught the shift instantly. The hush deepened, the atmosphere thickened, the sound of a room where nothing was casual. "Hello, Mr. Eisner," Cassidy said, her tone polite enough to disarm and firm enough to steer the conversation instantly.
"Ah, so you're my 2 o'clock.
"Yes, sir," Cassidy said.
"I'm Lydia Wexler from Wexler Analysis Group. My uncle's firm has admired your work for years. Thank you for letting me visit. We know your time is precious."
Yes, Wexler Analysis. They told me. Let's hope the name lives up to its pitch. Sit. Brenner, give us the room."
"But, sir," Brenner the guard began.
I promised Miss Wexler a closed-door interview, Eisner said, and I don't need a sentry to answer a few questions.
Yes, Mr. Eisner, Brenner said. I'll be nearby if needed. Brenner's footsteps faded steady, disciplined, until the door gave a muted snap behind him. What remained was a silence drawn tight around the room, close-walled and intimate.
All right, Miss Wexler, Eisner said. You came all this way. Ask what you came to ask.
Before we go any further, let me reintroduce myself. 'Cause, cards on the table, Lydia Wexler isn't my real name.
Seriously? Wynne thought as he jerked upright in his seat, breath catching as she'd yanked the wheel out of his hands from miles away.
She's just going for it? It's just an alias so I could speak with you without interference.
Well, Eisner said, that's one good way to wreck a perfectly good afternoon.
If I wanted to ruin your afternoon, you wouldn't have had time to comment on it. I'm here to keep you intact.
People don't just show up to help me. Not without a reason. So, start with your real name, then we'll see what comes next.
You can call me the Grandmaster of Theft. You might recognize the name from the Treasures of the Forgotten World fiasco at the Heiress Museum a few months back.
Wynne slid his hand toward the key, untouched, unturned, waiting.
Big claim you're making, Eisner said. You'll have to forgive me if I don't believe you immediately. I've met a lot of folks who like to puff themselves up.
You're free to doubt me. Belief isn't required, only your attention. I've got a once-in-a-lifetime offer for you, Mr. Eisner, and it only works if it stays strictly between us.
If this is really once in a lifetime, Eisner said, you better spill it fast. I only have so much lifetime left.
Wynne eased his hand off the key, settling back into stillness. If Eisner hadn't called for help by now, he wouldn't. Not unless things went catastrophically sideways.
Very well. I'm here because of your treasure.
If you plan to sweet-talk the location out of me, save your breath. I'm dying, not stupid.
Wynne's hands whipped back to the key, tension firing through his arm.
I know you're not stupid, Cassidy said, unfazed. Which is why I'm certain you've noticed the way public opinion has turned against you.
People love to talk. So what?
Are you truly content with how they speak of you? With letting strangers define your last chapter? With letting this be the memory that survives you?
The room fell quiet in a way Wynne trusted. Not tense, not hostile. The silence of a man reevaluating the board.
If the answer is no, Cassidy continued, I can remedy that. Public perception is a game I know better than most, and it's one I can tilt in your favor.
How?
By declaring me the victor of your treasure hunt.
Wynne's eyes widened a fraction, the closest he ever got to a flinch. Eisner's faint scoff slipped through the mic.
Of course. Should have figured all that talk was just the warm-up to grab the prize. The answer's still no. I'm not giving you the treasure.
I didn't ask for the treasure, nor do I intend to claim it. It holds no value to me.
Then...
A soft, puzzled grunt broke the silence.
What is it you want?
I already told you. I want you to declare me the victor. The treasure can stay hidden, be reclaimed, be tossed in a river. I don't care. What matters is the story the public hears. And that story is that I solved your riddle.
So that's her angle. Wynne leaned back a fraction. Cassidy will talk him into rigging his own contest to save his reputation. Then drop the recording on the world and gut him.
Well, Eisner said, I'll be damned. All this time I thought you wanted the chest. But no, what you want is the headlines.
This arrangement would serve us both. My standing grows, and you get to walk off stage with glory and grace instead of the mess they're trying to pin on you.
Glory and grace?
You know the stories, Mr. Eisner. Endings make everything before them matter. And yours could be extraordinary. Imagine this. The great explorer outwitting all but one noble thief rising onto the scene. I'd cast you as a formidable mind, a worthy adversary whose riddles demanded my full measure. I'd sing your praises, and you then, in turn, accept defeat with dignity. You let your final moment in the spotlight be one that fits the gentleman adventurer legend you built. Poised, graceful, remembered for the right reasons.
You've got imagination, I'll give you that. Let me tell you this. What if I decide I don't want to lose? What if I summon my guard, have you pinned to the floor, and end my story as the man who caught the Grandmaster of Theft?
Wynne started to reach for the key again, then stalled mid-motion, the part of him that believed in her slowing the response.
If that's the path you wish, Cassidy said, her words carrying a velvet tone. You're free to take it. But before you do, consider this. I came here fully anticipating that response. You won't hold me. And if I'm forced to prove that point, I'll be very annoyed with you.
The key turned under his hand, the cruiser grumbling as Wynne swung into gear. Either he was about to be the cavalry, or she'd already wrapped things up and he'd just be heading out. Either way, there was no sense staying still any longer. With a tired sort of clarity, Eisner said,
I didn't get this old by fighting every fight that walked through my door. I picked the ones worth bleeding for, and this isn't one of them. Your win goes public tomorrow.
Thank you, Cassidy said. It's been a pleasure doing business with you, and for what it's worth, when I praise you as a worthy opponent, I won't be embellishing a thing.
A cough-tinged laugh broke out of him.
You certainly live up to the title of noble thief.
A chair scraped softly, followed by the whisper of fabric. Wynne could practically see Cassidy dipping into a showman's bow before heading for the door.
One last thing, before you go,
Eisner added.
Thank you for the thrill. This felt like the old days again. It was fun.
The feeling is mutual,
Cassidy said before her steps clicked away from the room. From there, the job dissolved into exfil. Cassidy was already on her way to the hotel safe house, leaving Wynne to wrap the loose ends. The cruiser handoff, the persona burn, the car swap. Nearly 2 hours bled away before he finally made it back to the hotel. Suite was nothing fancy. Gentle lamplight, generic pale walls, faint citrus cleaner haze in the air. Cassidy had made herself comfortable at the window table, sitting cross-legged with her laptop while a half-finished chicken sandwich and milk bottle sat in reach. Her red hair was tied back into a relaxed ponytail. She wore a black tank sporting a cartoonish grinning imp with white lounge pants, an outfit reserved exclusively for rooms no stranger would ever enter.
I told you it would work,
she said, opening the Nugget Nook bag near the chair's leg with a quick crackle and pulling out a wrapped sandwich.
Next time, save the panic and just let me be brilliant.
She flicked the sandwich his way. Wynne's hand came up without thought, catching it cleanly. You never actually confessed, Wynne said. He wasn't letting that slide after her big talk. You promised you'd walk in and make him spill. He didn't spill anything.
What are you talking about? He confessed. Don't tell me you missed it.
Wynne paused midway through peeling the wrapper back. Cass, I literally heard every second. He gave you nothing, and you're the one who said you didn't care. Cassidy wagged a finger in mock reprimand, her eyes bright with warmth that made it impossible to take seriously.
You heard me, sure, but you didn't listen. There were 5 tells, plain as day, 5 little slips no one guarding a real treasure would make. Spot those, and everything else snaps into place.
A sip of milk punctuated the point before she pressed on.
The first clue was how little he cared to question me. If you're hiding something real, you always want to know how much of your secret is exposed. He didn't even try, which means there was never a secret to expose.
Wynn took a bite of his sandwich, chewing as he mulled over her words.
The second tell was how he talked about the treasure, or rather, how he didn't. No pride, no attachment, no nerves. People with something real always orbit around it emotionally, even if they don't mean to. But when I said I didn't want the chest, he relaxed instantly. Too fast. A real guardian tightens their grip. He loosened it. That's a liar realizing he won't be exposed.
That tracks, Wynn thought, slowly swallowing the bite. Though, in his defense, he didn't have eyes on Eisner. She did.
Clue 3 was in how he refused me. Literally in the sentence he used. When I mentioned the treasure, he jumped straight to, "Save your breath. I'm dying, not stupid." That's defensive, but not about the treasure. If it were real, he would have tightened around it. Instead, he tightened around himself. That's classic when someone's bluffing.
The next bite never came. Wynn's hand hung there, the sandwich forgotten as he replayed the words.
Another tell was how swiftly he conceded the ending. A man who has spent decades pursuing renown does not surrender the final chapter of his legacy without resistance, unless there is nothing real supporting it. His lack of negotiation, of even minimal pushback, made the truth evident.
Yeah, that was off, Wynn said.
As was his thank you, which is the final clue. It was relieved, as though I'd freed him from something. That's the reaction of someone who's been carrying a lie for too long.
Wynn's gaze settled on Cassidy as she bit into her sandwich, a small frown crossing her face before she polished it off. It was hard to forget she was trained by a detective when she worked like that.
Now, she continued, before you object to what I've said, I'll concede that none of these observations on their own constitute proof. But when every tell supports the others, his reactions, his tone, his surrender, his relief, they form a coherent narrative. A narrative in which the treasure doesn't exist.
You don't need to keep going, Wynn said. I'm convinced. All I want to know is how you're going to drop the hammer on him. Cassidy's lips pressed into a thin line, her gaze steady and sober.
I'm not.
Every step already planned for you, every dream boxed in, every tooth confined. They call it fate, they call it rules, I call it someone else's design. What you gonna do